A very good morning to everyone who's present over here. Today, I would like to share with you what I believe could be done for any person in this world to find a sense of joyful meaning and purpose in their life. Isn't that something which all of us crave for? And what if we could find that very early in our life when we are young? Let me start with the story of my father. So he's an eye surgeon, and he used to tell this story to me all the time. When he was a young starting off doctor, along with his mentor, he spent time in a small town called Disa in Gujarat. They used to organize huge camps where thousands of people would come seeking for medical attention, eye surgeries, and medicines. One day, my father encountered a small girl who came along with her grandfather and her grandmother. She took the hand of her grandfather and placed it in the hand of my father. And she said, "Please fix the bread earners of my family. I do not have a father. I do not have a mother. They are my only source of bread." That hand clasp of my father changed something within him. It gave him such a strong feel that what he was doing made a huge difference in the peoples of life who could possibly never repay him back. And that was the beauty of it. My father smiled and he said, "I promise I will do everything in my power and ability and talent to give your grandfather their vision back." A few days later, they were able to do that. You see, something changed in my father's in that moment, and he proclaimed to everyone has a right to see. And to give them this right will be the life's mission that I will live by. And it was all of a sudden that this life's mission drove him and gave him those strengths which was dormant inside of him. I yesterday asked my brother, who's also an eye surgeon, how many surgeries does an eye surgeon do on an average in their life? And he said, maybe about 20, 25,000. And my jaw dropped because my father, in his 30-year-old career, and he's still so active, has done over 300,000 surgeries, 200,000 of them completely free of cost for those people who hail from small villages, towns, slums, completely free of cost. Can you imagine that when you're driven by something with that passion and purpose, what you can achieve? Magically, he tired lesser. He could work longer days, even on a weekday or a weekend. He was more focused. His concentration and commitment was heightened. He was able to see and solve things so creatively simply because of his immense desire to help people. And I wanted to have that for myself as well. And I'm sure a lot of you do. So I, as a teenager, inspired by him, also started going to these camps to do my bit. When I was 9 years old, I remember my first eye camp experience. I was a torch boy. So I used to stand next to my father, holding the torch, helping him see these patients. And it was an amazing joy because I was always called, "Look, our youngest volunteer is here. Our youngest doctor is here." They gave me that kind of pride. But I also remember very interesting things which I saw during those camps. Not only was I helping them hold that torch, but I was listening to the conversation between a doctor and a patient. Every second patient I knew folded their hands and thanked the doctor because they were going to get their vision back. My father said, if it's an avoidable blindness, no one should suffer this fate. I remember my father putting his hand on the shoulder, on the patient's shoulder, and always reassuring them, giving them faith, asking them to smile and telling that all will be well. That was an amazing thing to do. And it connected with me for one more reason. When I was in school, I was a very lanky, thin guy, a little bit of an odd guy, a little weirdo of sorts, couldn't speak very well, couldn't definitely think, didn't look very well, didn't score too much. I was the average guy. I was the guy who would someone be at the side of the road. And for that reason, I was bullied. I was ignored. I was kept out of the circles which I wanted to be part of. And I saw solace in these things. But I always imagined, what if there was a person like my father inside my school, someone who would put a hand on my shoulder and say, "It's going to be okay. I'm here for you." And that inspired me. When I was 18 years old, I started an organization with my friends called Yuva Ignited Minds. And the simple objective was to bring young people with goodness and kindness in their heart to make a difference on any societal issue that they connected with. And so we simply started. In the last 12 years, and Yuva is still active even today, we've done over 200 plus events. We have served over 300,000 young people, needy people, poor people. We didn't see which background they came from. But the greatest number which inspires me and makes me feel good about myself is that over 2,000 young people volunteered in different capacities. Many of them went down to lead the organization in different years. Many of them started their own organizations and initiatives, both inside and outside this country. You see, my father found his sense of purpose and joy in serving people. And I also coincidentally found them through those camps. But the difference was I found that sense of purpose when I was able to invite, inspire young people to join together. I was seeking for redemption. And so one fateful day, I sat down and I reflected. What is it that helps me use my gifts to the maximum limit possible? And that's a question I want all of you to think about. What gives you a sense of joy where you feel active, excited, energetic, and which you feel that I could do this all day? My father has no Monday blues. He sleeps like a baby at night and wakes up like a rooster in the morning. How many of us would like to have that? One of the most amazing definitions of work my dean in college taught me was work is love made visible. And the day you start doing what you love for a living, it's the last day that you would ever be working. And so when I reflected, I thought about if there was one place that I could make a difference, that it would be at school. I wanted to help one child be bullied lesser. I wanted one girl to be teased lesser. I wanted one person to be pulled out and excluded from circles because of the way they looked and their sound. I wanted to make a difference over there. And so I packed my bag, I left my corporate job, and for probably about 1.5 years, I backpacked and I traveled to 17 states of this country, simply trying to understand how do you build goodness, happiness, joyfulness, successfulness in children. I went to 17 states. I did small programs. I learned from parents. I learned from students. I learned from gurus. I learned from authors. I did all of that. And after 1.5 years, I knew that there are a few ways that things could be done different. Do you remember that when you were younger, or probably even now, you have a subject called moral science, something which is so important because it teaches exactly the things I'm talking about. It teaches you to be a good person, a good friend, a good citizen, a good human. But unfortunately, I also remember when I was in school, it was very preachy. It was filled with the stories of role models who I couldn't relate to. None of them were alive. And also that it was taught in a way that no one cared about. And the reason was, in our country, it's treated as a co-curricular, as a graded subject. Neither our parents or honestly, some of our teachers also took it very seriously. And I felt, how can something that matters so much be treated with such disdain? I knew that I found a place to work in. There were two things. My father, my mother, my friends always told me, Mayank, two things which stand you out, which are better than a lot of things which you have. The way you can communicate what you feel about something and the way you can think about it. Creativity and communication was my special sauce. And so I started thinking, how can I make a difference in this space? There were so many problems to solve. Our educational system is incredibly complex. But I had to start with one step, and I thought I'd figure my way around from there. And so I did. I thought about those classrooms that I sat in, that school infrastructure which I sat in. And we sat for 8 hours a day in the same place, barely moving around. I work today and I do the same thing. How can we put small children through the same thing again? So I thought, what if we created a place which was so inspiring, so motivating, so colorful that a child would come alive, would feel excited to learn these things intrinsically and not because someone else told them. And that was my idea. Dear students, the young people and teachers in this world. If we can have a computer lab to teach computer, if we can have a science lab to teach science, if we can have a math lab to teach math, why shouldn't we have a character lab to teach character? Why shouldn't we have a values lab to teach values? Now, it sounded great as an idea, but who would make one? I knew that if I went going on requesting and giving ideas, I would listen to the slamming of the door many times. And that's what happened. I took this idea, I conceptualized it, I got a lot of help from people of how it could be, but I didn't get a chance. For 2 years, I kept this idea on hold, thinking that I'm going to do it one day, I'm going to do it one day. Eventually, I realized that this dream is always going to be inside that place, inside with me in my graveyard if I don't do something about it. So one day I simply woke up. I went to that one school, that one principal who I really treated and I trusted a lot. The reason was she was my principal when I was in school. I simply said, ma'am, I have a dream that I want one classroom in your school. And finally, after so many requests, one school gave me one classroom and said, do what you wish. I was so excited. I spent so much time over there with my friends, with the ones whom I was working with, to build the world's first values lab. And I want to show you what that looks like. And I want to see and feel that you see that excitement of a child entering into a completely different space. So here's what it looks like. This is what our first values lab looked like. You see the teacher and what's behind her? That's something which looks like a lotus going towards the sun. Well, I removed all furniture from the classroom. I removed all the blackboards, everything which was traditional and part of every classroom. I removed everything out. And I said, what if our boards look like that? What if we had such a beautiful space which you feel that, wow, that's something which I want to write on. That's what I want to look at. And I created something called values boards. Then I said that I know that to teach values and character, we use so many stories and it's one of the most engaging things. So what if we had a dedicated place just to tell stories? So we created one of our dedicated story corner spaces. And this is actually a real form of a book. It opens up like pages and the background changes as per the crowd in front of them. Whether a child is of grade 4 or of grade 10, everyone could enjoy this space. But I didn't stop over there. I said, what if we could learn from each other beyond our classrooms? I used to love learning from my seniors. So I created a real kind of a space. And I said that, what if right from grade 4 to grade 10, students could learn from the journeys of each other? So we made a values journey kind of a space. I said, what if we could make a place where children could speak out? So we created a speak your heart space where any child could write in a message. When I was that small boy getting bullied, getting ignored, I wanted to reach out, but I was scared that if I did that, people would say, what a crybaby. Even to my teachers who always said that you can come and speak anything to us, I never got that comfort, but I wanted to speak it out. So I created a place where any person could share any concern, any suggestion, any confession, just in that box, and they would get an answer back anonymously. You see those pipes in the right over here? Those pipes are actually whispering pipes. A child and a teacher could speak to each other without the aggression, without other people knowing what is talking about. And over there, I wanted to create a very colorful space where even appreciation and gratitude could be done. So we created a wall called Leading Light so that children could nominate and celebrate their friends who they feel have done amazing things in their life. What if our schools and our classrooms look like this? Now, this was our first lab. As we worked on top of it, as more schools like what we did, we started building more and more unique labs. And some of our labs look like this today. They are bigger, they're more colorful, they have more structures. We have now video conferencing where we have role models from across the world who can join in and speak and share and learn with children, and children can speak to them. We created spaces where stories now can be told in the most digital tech way, plus the traditional way. We created a space where there were more whispering pipes. Children could speak to children as well. And we took that concept of being able to speak to one more level. This is a place called Express to De-Stress, We put 5 boxes instead of 1. And we said, depending on the intensity of your need, put in a letter and we reach out to you immediately, as important as your need would be. So many children wrote to us about different things at home, at school, in person, which they needed help with. And I knew this was an instant at that time. We also went ahead and we made a 20-foot wall with an entire description of India, women, and scientists. And this is one of the most amazing projects that we got to do in one of the schools. Imagine if your class wall looked like this, your class board looked like that. We then said that what if we created an entire space where we could put notes and share our personal learnings with each other through these. So we put pads on walls of rough board cardboards over there, the whole thing. We made the whole place look like a reflection of India's culture. We also created something called a Seva Corner. I knew that giving is a quality which makes us so insightful, so calm, makes you feel good, and also grounded at the same time. So we actually took a real cart which they sold, which they sell vegetables on, and we cut it into half a piece and we put it over there. Every week, a child could give anything they want, a toy, groceries, stationery, and we would collect it together. And every month, one grade would get a chance to go and distribute it out over there. The power of giving is immense. We also created a place where they could now appreciate each other. The one on the right is an actual meditation box. I knew the power and peace of calm. In our coming schools, we're making this beneath trees also now. Imagine having your Buddha moment sitting over there. The thing about places is that the more you work on these places, the more beautiful our school looks like. They say that God exists everywhere, but we still build temples, right? Because we feel that consecrated presence over there. We feel that atmosphere over there. And I want to change the landscape of our schools. I want it to be not just a center of learning, but a center of healing, a place where a child wants to go and feel that with or without my teacher, this place teaches me that. So that is how I started my journey. And that is what I've been doing now today. The last part of what I would like to say is this. If you want to find your sense of purpose, think about 2 things. 1, what you truly care about. What makes you feel a sense of joy that I really want to work on this? Or what gives you a sense of pain that I cannot accept this? Those are the 2 greatest inspirations. If you don't know where to find a pain point, I suggest simply take a book, go to your house, look at every single place where you feel that something is wrong, is inefficient. Go to your school, go to a public space, note down everything which is wrong or a pain for you or for people out over there. And that would be the beginning. And the second one, think about one thing which you're really good at. All of us do a lot of things, but think, what is that one thing I can do a lot of times? If you figure these 2 out, when you bring it together, like I brought my communication and creativity to my passion in education to build good children, kind children, helpful children, that's where the magic sauce comes together. Remember one last thing. Happiness is not the opposite of sadness. You can be happy and fail, struggle, be in pain at the same time. Like my father, who worked 18 hours a day, non-stop, no weekends for 20, 25, 30 years, and still was able to be a great father, a great husband to my mom, a great friend to his friends, all of it at the same time. You can achieve anything and everything that you want if you put your mind to it. So it's as simple as this. All those things which give us happiness might not give us a sense of purpose and meaning, but things that give us a sense of purpose and meaning will for sure give you happiness. I ask of you to rise above and make this world a better place through your special sauce. So let's make this a place where you can find your turning point like I found it as a small boy in that camp. Thank you so much.